Hi, welcome to the next edition of Watching the Standard Meta. And today, of course, we have some things to talk about. We got some sweeping bans, and so basically the data looks very funky. And yeah, so it looks like almost like if you were looking at the Pioneer deck list for the past 2 weeks based on the number of decks showcased. So, that is what it is. We'll go ahead and dive right in. And I got one deck to talk about that I think is probably going to be the new tier 1 deck. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, some sort of variant. So if you guys think that you're literally going to get out of a not toxic meta, I beg to differ. But so yeah, we're going to dive straight into that. We're going to talk about what decks are pseudo at the top here, even though the data looks very distorted. Like I said, because they were, in junction with the decks that got banned today. And I got 3 other decks to talk about. One of which I think could be pretty reasonable to compete in the current next format with standard. And if you're interested in watching Pioneer, the other channel has it. The link is down in the description to my other channel. Go subscribe over there and check out. I have 2 decks to talk about for Pioneer. It does look like it's a pretty slow week for Pioneer, but it'll be okay. And let's dive straight in. Okay, so based off this weird skew, 177 Demir midrange was originally probably in the challenges for the past 2 weeks. And Golgari Roots is still here, and Azorius Control, a Mono Black Demon. So I wouldn't look too much into this, just because purely cards did just get banned and the meta is still shifting. You don't even know what the top meta decks are going to be. If this is the meta, and then if going forward, that'd be pretty hilarious. I can't imagine, Gruul Delirium. Is it Cauldron being a top legit deck? Azorius Control probably will be a decent player. Roots could be, but we're going to be talking about Roots a little bit later. And Demir midrange / Golgari midrange could be making a resurgence. But I think we're actually kind of past that point of it being the deck you need to be worrying about. And overall, I think this actually is it's okay. I'm not sold that this is going to be a much better standard. They did ban a bunch of cards like Up the Beanstalk, so that way no grindy decks could even survive. They banned the combo deck, so that way you don't get the Omniscience back. They also banned Mouse, Monstrous Rage, and plus the Artifact Cutter. So they literally just kind of stripped out a lot of decks here. But I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. But I'm pretty sure the first deck I'm going to be talking about didn't get touched. And I think this actually is going to be the deck that's going to take over standard. So look out. I don't think it's going to be that fun. So I think one of the decks that's going to be at the top is Orzhov Bounce. This deck has been around for quite some time. Has been a decent player in the format. There used to always be Esper, but Esper, lost the instant speed bounce 2 things. Man, I am drawing a blank. But yeah, that got banned as well because they wanted to hit the bounce stacks too, but kind of not really, right? Because you could just play Orzhov. This deck does do quite well into aggro because the lockdowns, nowhere to runs, berserkers, breakers, I should say. And then it has Annex, which is just a busted card. Get lost, and you have your bounce effects. So you don't really even need the looping of talent. Plus, this talent ain't big enough, right? You could literally just do perfectly fine with Pixie and Chiron, and you're probably gonna be okay with that. So this deck, I think, is definitely going to be one of the top players right out of the gate. The Duress is in the board, still pretty good here. Dark Confidant makes sense because you want it in grindy matchups. You could trim back on the upper parts like the lockdowns. Grim Bauble for the aggro matchups. You have Exercise for artifacts and enchantments. You have Get Lost for enchantments. Plus Planeswalkers. Get Rest in Peace for graveyard hate. Innocence for the grindy matchups. Shieldred for grindy matchups, go for the throat for aggro and mid range when they have big threats. And Annex is there for mid range as well. So you can, like I said, cut your lockdowns, bring in this, and you're probably pretty good over lockdowns. I don't necessarily know if you bring in Dark Confidant, but you probably will, and cut the Bobble, to be honest. Look out, I don't think this deck is going to be all that fun. Bounce decks in general are not fun, so I would not be surprised if Standard still is plagued by some unfun decks. So let me know what you guys think about Orzhov Bounce. Are you guys excited to see Orzhov Bounce be a meta deck? Let me know in the comment section. Let's dive into the spicier decks. So Golgari Ruse, right? So this is Jund. The only thing that's Jund about it is the Thrill Seeker. So you could bring this in certain matchups and get it underneath your Cauldron and kind of one-shot your opponent. We have Balmerk to fill our yard up, Roots to get tokens. We have Tyvar to trigger the roots, also get back any kind of necessary piece you want. Molt Tender to fill our yard up and ramp. We have Might. We have Maverick to fill our yard up. So that's pretty good there too. Ooze for the basically the Mirror Town Greeter as kind of our worst version of the old type effect, but still pretty good here. This card is reasonable. It's a removal spell early, artifact enchantment destruction spell later. A couple more snipers for the I think it's Reach and Death Touch. Pretty good. Go for the Throat for a little bit of removal. Dark Confidant for grindy matchups. Ghost Vacuum for Graveyard Hate. Soul of the Lost. Nice way to get a decent sized body on board. Scavenger on this side. We have a Raider in the side. Some Thrill Seeker. We have Thrill Seeker so we could chuck something at our opponent. It has counters on it. And we have Spider. So that way we could ETB, sacrifice another creature, and destroy a non-land permanent. Pretty good there. That is Jund, technically Golgari. Roots for Standard, which I think this deck is going to be pretty good in general. And I guess technically you should be able to tap this for any color. So you can cast Thrill Seeker off of a token. So keep that in mind. Let's get to the next deck. So next is this Sultai Self Mill with the new Town Greeter, Maverick, Vermin to mill, Balmerk to mill. This deck does play Swarm and Marauder. Sadly, this deck does lose, like, it should be playing up the Beanstalk, but it doesn't. So thankfully, it dodges that. Overwhelming Remorse is a nice way to, for one black, remove basically any creature or planeswalker. Kiora to fill your yard up. The new Unsunder as a way to also fill up your yard. Cruel Zombiophage is a nice way to get a decent sized body and mill ourselves. Duress in the board for control and combo. Might for artifact and enchantment hate. Spell Pierce for tempo advantage. So if they try to remove something that we want to keep, we could, counter their removal. Ooze for graveyard hate. Uprising for grindy matchups. Terra Sunder for artifact and enchantment removal. It's kind of a catch-all though. Misery as a sweeper. Scrap Shooter for artifact enchantment hate. Sunslayer, kind of a catch-all. If they have graveyard hate, you kind of want to bring this in. Along with Shieldred. And that is the deck that I have to talk about for Sultai Self Mill. So we have one more deck to talk about today. So the last deck I have to talk about is this Boros deck, having the new Summon enchantment creature, plus a couple copies of the new Lightning. Some Magebane Lizard for combo decks that cast a lot of spells. That does lose a lot of value now that Prowess has kind of got hit. Nemesis, pretty good card. Bruce Tarl, the most base card in entire Standard. We have another new card out of Final Fantasy right here. Elspeth, some Boots, some Burst Lightning, some Lightning Helixes. Shelter by Ghosts, pretty good against aggro. We have a couple Torches for more aggro hate. Destroy Evil for enchantment hate plus mid-range hate for creature size. Get Lost, good against creatures, big creatures I should say. Planeswalkers enchantments. Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate. Loran for Artifact and Enchantment. Braid for small creatures and Artifact Hate. Sword of Once and Future for a little bit of grind value. We could get back our Burst Lightnings or Helixes, whatever. Beza for aggro. Sarah Paragon could also be for aggro, but it's probably more for grindy matchups. They answer our threats. We get them back later on with they basically have to be exiled after they die again. Spark Hunter, nice little grindy card, plus Elspeth, also there for the grind. Plus Elspeth, plus Bruce Tarles kind of based. Making double Oxes is just so awesome. So, overall, this deck does seem pretty spicy. It kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of how Pioneer was when I recently just played it for a video. I think that's going to air on this channel. Yeah. No, the other channel. My bad. This is standard. So for Pioneer. So go check that out if you want. And until next time, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000 subs. I'll talk to you guys next time.